So I'd say hockey looks like it's pretty physical as well.
Well, and doing that all on ice.
All on ice, like, crazy.
That's not running and cutting like it is on grass or court or on ice. I don't even think I could play hockey with no puck.
Yeah.
Like, even just the skating around, I couldn't even handle that.
Yeah, no, the skating's too much.
Add the puck, and then the fact that you're not actually interacting with the puck.
Yeah.
You're using a stick to interact with the puck. I mean, that's insane. It's crazy.
Let's go. Another episode of Adversity Kings. We're live, and we have special guest today, Parker. What's the last name?
Smith.
Parker Smith. Let's go, big dog. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing today?
Good, brother. Good. So, where are you from?
I am actually from Downers. I grew up in Downers Grove. I went to Downers Grove South from the area. My dad and my grandfather also from the area, so I've got whole families from the area here.
For real?
Yeah.
So a lot of individuals, like I'd say probably close to half my company here is probably first or second generation Americans. I'm always curious about culture, ethnicity, nationality. Where are you from? Like originally?
I'm definitely a mutt. I've been I'm from all over the place. My dad is mostly Eastern European, but from all over. My mom is truly like not 10% of any one particular thing, just like spread so thinly across the board. I can't really say I have a lot of like rich cultural background just because of how spread out our heritage is.
Yeah. What was growing up for you like?
I grew up upper middle class family. My parents always did well.
Yeah.
My mom worked from home while I was growing up, like basically from 5 years old all the way until I was 12, 13. I had a younger sister. Parents were always around, was just always doing everything. I was in every club, every sport, everything. I had the best parents in the world, and they just,
What'd your parents do growing up? Like, what did you see them do work-wise, home life? What was that like?
So my dad, kind of non-traditional family dynamic. My dad did all the cooking. My dad handled a lot of the stuff around the house.
Wow.
But he actually was a podiatrist, so he owned his own practice briefly, then worked for a podiatry group called PPG. So he did a lot of traveling podiatry, working with nursing homes, with older people with disabilities. So he was foot, ankle, lower leg, anything in that vicinity he did. My mom worked in the virtual sales channel for AT&T, so she was business side, more so working with vendors, working with people that were selling AT&T products and services, not really working with customers or with
like
actual
B2B sales.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
much more B2B. Yep.
And how old are you?
I am 22, almost 23 now.
Okay, when's the birthday?
December 31st.
December 31st, New Year's Eve, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go. Any exciting plans?
Nothing too crazy. I did the big 21st a couple of years ago and just did way too much. Got the table downtown.
I did the same thing.
Did the whole show and just woke up the next morning. Basically, was like didn't remember a lick of it. It was.
So I don't drink, and so I remembered all of it in the process of it. I brought guys out from the company, everything like that, fit the whole bill, and the dinner, and I think it was roughly $15,000 between the table and the dinner, and I don't drink, so I was like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? And we were joking about it this morning because I've only done it one other time. I'm 25 now. But we won our, respectively, they categorize insurance businesses.
Yep.
So we won our category 2 years ago, and we were in Vegas, and I think that table was like $6,000. It wasn't as bad. But I didn't realize because, when you buy a bottle of Ace of Spades outside of a club, it's $300. Again, I don't drink, but I like fancy bottles. I got like a Lamborghini bottle right here.
Yeah.
So I kept ordering Ace of Spades to the table for my 21st. It was like Ace of Spades, Ace of Spades, Ace of Spades. And
it's not $300.
Yeah, no, the girls were like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, trying to impress the girls. And get the bill, and I'm like, oh, nah. You know what I mean? Can I do the dishes or something? Like, in my mind, that was my thought process. But no, that definitely influenced me even more to not want to be a nightlife individual. But let's jump back into your story. So mom, dad, kind of a unique development, both still, generating funds, but, dad was cooking and kind of doing a little bit different of the traditional roles. Well, who would you say you were closest with growing up, mom or dad?
That's tough. I didn't have the closest relationship with my dad. He kind of was he wanted to be a little bit of an enforcer, wanted to have the role of like.
So he was still a masculine, like dominant
Yes, very
figure.
much so, and very much like, you know, if mom was upset at you, you were okay, but like when dad got involved, that was like you crossed the line, you were getting a whooping type of thing. And I didn't really get close with my dad until I was probably 18, 19, you know, finished high school, moved out, started to manage my own shit, and then my dad kind of saw me more on an even playing field with him.
Yeah.
And it helped our relationship a lot. But growing up, it was always me and my mom. I've been super close with my mom since as long as I can remember.
Yeah. So what do you think you got the most from your mom growing up? Like what things do you think she instilled into you to make you the man that you are today and to give you the success that you have at such a young age?
Yeah, I would say 100% just caring and compassion. You know, she is just like the type of person who cries when she sees a squirrel dead on the side of the road.
My mom's the same way.
You know, and I embody some of those characteristics, not the same as her. Sometimes she gets real sad or worked up about stuff and I just can't meet her there. But, you know, just in the way that I've handled my relationships with significant others, with friends, with colleagues, with business
engaged,
partners.
right?
Yeah, I am.
Wow, dude, that's young. But that's good if you find the girl. I always tell everybody, if you can find the right one, I think it's better to do it, you know, as soon as possible. Because especially if you're trying to build something special in life, if you're out chasing, you're gonna spend a lot of time wasting time with individuals that don't care.
Yeah.
You know, so that's good for you there. So you get the compassion, you get the care from your mom. Your dad's the enforcer, so I can see the balance and the dichotomy between these two. Now, as you start to go through high school, when did you really start to hone in on one sport and know that you were going to utilize that to kind of, you know, catapult yourself into the education where you are now?
Yeah, so, you know, I grew up playing every sport. I did everything from swimming, running, track and cross country, basketball, volleyball, soccer, football. I mean, I did everything. Slowly whittled away until I got to high school. I played 3 sports in high school, then ended up by the end of my time in high school, I had really narrowed it down just to soccer. I had decided that soccer was going to be the sport I really wanted to kind of take all the way.
Yeah.
I had a really bad injury. I broke my right humerus, compound fractured it. I had to have my whole right arm reconstructed. So I've got like a 10-inch plate and like a dozen screws in my arm holding it together now. And that was like a huge blow. I was like, I thought I was going to play college soccer. I thought, you know, soccer was my thing. And I was able to come back and right at the end of my senior year, I got my first and my only Division I offer, which was at Northern Illinois. I decided I'm going to go to NIU, went there. I played 2.5 years there. My 3rd season, we won the MAC. We went to the national tournament. You know, we were undefeated in conference play, all this stuff, got all these accolades. And then in the middle of my 6th semester, I was exploring some business opportunities and stuff and was just like, got an opportunity to try and go make professional soccer work, and I jumped at it, and I was able to actually sign pro and play from there.
Do you still play pro?
I do not. I played last season. I hung the boots up in January of 2023, so coming up on a year now that I haven't been playing.
What team did you play with?
I played with a team called Forward Madison in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So that was when I originally moved from Illinois to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Moved there. I played there and actually ended up falling in love with the city, and now I live there with my current fiance, and we just moved there just because we loved the city.
Do you have a past fiance?
No.
Okay, I was curious. You said current. I'm like,
No.
I was giving you kudos for starting young, and I was like, all right, nah, maybe my boy's just like a trigger puller, and he's asked a couple of times. All right, no. Okay, and respect to the fiance if you watch this. Okay, so I'm curious when soccer is something I'm really curious about because I don't really follow sports that much aside of UFC, but I just saw Ohtani, which is baseball, sign a $700 million contract. Structured a little weird. I think he's not getting most of the money until like a decade from now. But soccer players are another one that is slept on because Americans are deceived. They think football is the most watched sport and the most funded sport in the world. Football is not even close. No. It might be top 5, but soccer, cricket, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Polo, these worldwide sports that dominate, and I don't think there's any sport like soccer that dominates just worldwide television. I think we have the World Cup coming here the next time. Where's
2026.
Where's that going to be?
It's all of North America. So there'll be a couple games in Canada, a couple games in Mexico, and a lot of games in the U.S.
That's going to be sick. I'm going to get some. We're going to do tickets for that, Nick.
You got to.
We're going to do that.
Experiencing a World Cup atmosphere is something you will
Have you gone?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I've traveled a lot. I've gotten to go to a lot of games. I've gone to, I've also gotten to experience some, not necessarily small, but smaller matches. Like I lived in Portugal briefly, and when I was living in Portugal, we went to a match that was between FC Porto and Sporting. So those are the two biggest clubs in Portugal.
Yeah.
So that you really only care a lot about that league if you live in Portugal.
Yes.
But for those people, like it was life or death. Like these people, the atmosphere, the way the stadium just like shook, and the feeling of being in a game like that was unbelievable. I can't even imagine what the World Cup is going to be like when it comes to the U.S.
Dude, I've heard of some cultures, and it's probably historically, I don't know how accurate it would be, of like if a soccer player blew a game in another like country, like they got executed.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It is. And the thing is, it's like guerrilla style. It's not like the government is going to try them.
Yeah.
It's just like the fans will kill you.
Dude, and I heard in the most recent World Cup, I don't know if people paid attention to the news, there was a gentleman in the Middle East, I believe, that was executed for, I think there was like a USA game or something like that. And I think a fan, like somebody like took a guy out. They were like in a crowd or something like that. I don't know what, and I don't know again how accurate that is, but I'm pretty like sure, I'm like 90% sure I saw something in the news in regard to someone being taken out. Now you played at this Wisconsin professional team.
Yep.
Are you familiar with FC Dallas?
Yes, very.
Did you guys play them at all?
So FC Dallas, they have two teams. They have their first team, which is in the MLS.
Okay.
And that was the league above the league I was playing in.
Okay.
And then they have a team in the MLS Next, which was the league below the team that I was playing with.
Okay.
So we were kind of nestled right in between their two teams. But I know personally and have played with at least a dozen guys that played in the FC Dallas squads.
So it's a small world because I'll plug our company real quick, our parent company, Globe Life. They're the official company for the Dallas Cowboys, the Atlanta Braves. They have the naming rights to Texas Ranger Stadium, but they're also the sponsor for FC Dallas. Now, I don't know which specific team it would be because I didn't know there was two.
I'm sure it's going to be their top team. I'm sure it's the MLS team.
That's sweet, though. So, and I've never really been able to have a conversation with anybody. I mean, some of the guys that like soccer, a lot of the Polish guys that come here, they like soccer and the Latino culture and everything. Like they like soccer. So when we do get people incorporated, I'm like, hey, we're with FC Dallas, and I have no idea who plays for FC Dallas. I've never been to a game, and they go nuts about it. But I always get curious because baseball has so many different tiers, but it sounds like soccer does as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like you've got like a high school league, then you got like a league above that, but it's before college. Then you got a couple leagues that are kind of like in kind of college, and you got the pro leagues and a couple leagues there. What are the odds going like high school to like straight to like the USA team where you can compete on an Olympic level? Like, have we had anybody on that level? Like, who's the greatest present American player right now? Who's some great past American players?
Yeah, so it's tough. The American game is changing a lot because we're trying to keep up with Europe. We're trying to keep up with South America. We're trying to keep up
and they
with
start
the
playing
rest of the world.
They probably play a little different. They probably play year round. I imagine we play year round, but maybe they start younger.
Yeah, and the other thing is it's a culture thing, right? Like when we're growing up here in the U.S., the best athletes that we have, put them in a football helmet.
Yeah.
Put them on a basketball court, right? That's what we do with our best athletes.
Yeah.
Whereas in these other countries, these other cultures, if you are any bit athletic, stick you on a soccer field from the moment you can walk.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. And so we're trying to kind of catch up, being a country that is just so diverse in terms of our sporting. Like, there is so much attention for so many different sports, and soccer, we're starting to catch up. But the reason we're actually catching up more is because our best Americans are going to Europe when they're 10 years old.
Yeah.
So they're just leaving. They're going to Europe and they're training and playing in Europe their entire youth and high school days, when the American system just isn't building players the same way that the European and South American systems are.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think if I were a parent and I wanted to like cash out on my kid, I think I would go with soccer. The financial pool looks a lot better. You got Messi that just bought into Miami. I think he a part owner of what's the Miami team name?
Inter Miami.
Inter Miami?
Yep.
Okay, and then you've got Ronaldo that I think got signed to a Middle Eastern
Saudi Arabian team.
Saudi Arabian team for, was it a quarter? Was it $500 million?
Yeah, it was something like just obscene. Like,
yeah, it was, and it wasn't over an extended period of time, and it probably wasn't like Otani where it gets paid out over 17 years. I bet they pay that thing out over 5 years.
Yeah.
And they made an adjustment. In the country that he was going to, I believe, be staying in, I believe he has a fiance or a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Now, they don't let you live with the opposite sex unless you're married.
Yeah.
They made an exception
yes.
for soccer.
Yes.
For him.
Yes.
That's how much the world cares. Like, you're talking about extremists, individuals that's like, if you say the wrong thing, there can be extreme punishment. Making such a massive exception, it's insane to me.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, it's a business.
Yes.
And that was something I had to learn, not the hard way, but just I had to have my eyes open to when I moved into the professional game of like, they care about you, right? They care about soccer, but it's a business.
Yeah, it's a stat, you're a number.
And they're like, I mean, they might be paying Ronaldo, let's say he's making $100 million a year.
Yeah.
They are making more money than that by him being on the team.
Yes.
And that is just even crazier to think about. Like, the exposure that the league is getting and the jersey sales and just the TV deals and the endorsement deals and the advertising, I mean, they are going to make that money back. And what that really does is it opens the floodgates for other players that were never even considering a move to Saudi Arabia. They're like, well, Ronaldo went there.
Yeah.
I could go to Saudi Arabia. Ronaldo's one of the best players of all time. If he did it, I could do it, sure.
And the duration on some of these players, isn't he late 30s?
Yeah. Yep. Ronaldo is
early 40s,
37 something, which like to be in peak physical condition, to be playing a sport that requires miles of sprinting.
That's insane.
It's ridiculous.
Now, do soccer players get tested? Is there, you've got the NFL where you can rotate on, rotate off. So I know there's probably like different things, but like for the most part, they don't look trend out. I don't care what you say. They don't look like they're just beefy to the gills. You know what I mean? These are sleek individuals, but the recovery, like, are peptides allowed? Like, I've taken peptides to help recover. So it's
it's interesting. Yes and no, right? It's one of those things where it's not allowed, but it's also not uncommon. And there are ways you can get around things.
Yeah.
The level I was playing at, it wasn't quite as prevalent. You don't have guys that are, an injury costs the team $20 million, right? Like that wasn't the situation. So it wasn't so prevalent, but in the highest levels, I mean, it exists.
And
it's
spikes
in every
metal
sport.
at the highest level? Are the spikes metal?
If you're playing on soft ground, so you're playing on wet grass or you're playing on a natural surface, you should be playing with metal spikes, yeah.
You ever taken like metal spikes to anywhere?
Yeah, all over. So I'm a goalkeeper.
Okay.
So I've been kicked, slid into, kneed, hit into the post. I mean, everything you can imagine that happened to me. I've
Is that how you broke the arm?
Before. The arm, actually, weirdly enough, I was diving to save a ball, and I basically landed with my arm out straight. And then when I hit the ground, I was parallel to the ground. And instead of dislocating my shoulder, my bone here just splintered. Damn. The doctor said the only time he'd seen a break like that is when people are in a high-speed car crash
accident,
and they straighten their arms on the wheel.
Yeah.
And the same thing. Instead of
Get
the
jarred.
shoulder going, the arm just splinters. And that's exactly
insane.
what happened to me.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite player?
Oh, I would say I've been a Messi fan through and through since I was really young, and I didn't grow up in a soccer family.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have a team that I supported, but we're looking at late 2000s, early 2010s, where I like really fell in love with the game, and that was when Messi was just unstoppable. You just couldn't help but love him.
Now, is he retired, or is he just is he owner/player of Miami?
Yes, that. Yep. So
Wow.
he's playing. His deal was actually just so lucrative that they couldn't really pay him what they needed to pay him.
Yeah, so they had to give him
kind of
equity.
just like started giving him stake and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, let's give him a little stake of the team. Let's give him a little stake of this advertising deal that the league has. I mean, almost the entire league is contributing to Messi's salary, because that's how important it was to get him over to the U.S.
That's insane. That's a clutch play for the U.S.
Yes.
With so many individuals going out to other clubs, that's a clutch play for the U.S. economically, for Florida. I was studying GDP this morning. And it's like, that is a clutch play in general. Who was the light skin that did real well this year? What was the dude's name?
Mbappe.
Mbappe.
Yeah.
His future looks bright.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, so young.
20 years old?
I think 22 maybe,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, he's a child and he is competing with the best players in the world. I mean, I think he will have a absolutely phenomenal career.
Yeah.
Barring some big injury, which unfortunately happens.
He had a big injury?
No.
Okay.
Barring that he does.
Yes.
You know, I think he could have a.
Was he Team England?
He was France.
Team France.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. Man, is there anything else on soccer, because we got carried away there, that sticks out to you, that you like, or that you think individuals are just not educated on being in the U.S.?
Yeah. You know, if I could give a 15-second plug for soccer, I would say people don't understand the physical demands that come with the game.
That's what I wanted to talk on.
You know, it's very popular to just write it off as a sport that really is just like, it's all about running. It's all about cardio.
Yeah.
There is a huge physical component to the game. And I think people also forget the coordination and the skill that it takes to run and jump and cut and sprint and do all these things at full speed while using your feet to move a ball. I mean, that is just like
insane.
It is. And so people are so quick to say, oh, soccer players are always falling down. They're always, getting tripped up, like all this stuff. Like, you get hit way harder in football, or you get way more physical in basketball, or whatever that might look. You don't have something at your feet while that's happening in those sports. So,
and I think also with the physicality of playing both, soccer at a very low level, but I could do a rainbow better than Nick. So
that's something.
Yeah, I can, bro. We have our dribbling videos out there too. We can pull those up. But I think when I'm just like, you just do like the science in your mind of like when you're running, there's a lot of friction in football with pads. I don't know what else would be very contact like that we can compare that to. Basketball, absolutely not. It's the softest sport in the world right now. Yeah. Maybe back in the day, but soccer, you're talking about maybe rugby.
Yeah.
But even with rugby, that I could still see that being similar. But when you watch the physical style, there's I think, is it 11 men that they have out there as well?
Yep.
There's still a decent amount of friction where it's not like one-on-one hits. That soccer field looks massive. Is it longer than 100 yards?
It's 120 by 60.
Okay, so it's a massive field, and if you got these straightaway sprints with no pads, and I'd say maybe the average soccer player could consistently be operating at a 15 to 20 mile per hour speed, which has to be double of what you're operating at, let's just say in reference to football. Obviously some of these guys like Cheetah's going to get up to 20 miles an hour, but how consistently is he able to get up to that? You're talking about consistently moving at that. How long is the game duration? 2 hours or something stupid?
90 minutes, yeah.
90 minutes. So to have the internal endurance, but then externally, it's like, I couldn't imagine, man, like just somebody coming at me 20 miles an hour and just like head kicking me or something crazy. You know what I mean? Just even the contact of like, you're going 20, I'm going 20, and just boom.
Yeah,
you know
dueling for balls in the air
insane.
or on the ground. I mean, the slide tackling element of things, the physical side of any type of set pieces or a dead ball where it's kind of like a fixed play of sorts. I mean, you're just taking all 22 guys on the field, you're putting them into the box together, and then someone is just basically serving a ball up, and everyone is just grabbing, jumping, going at each other as hard as you can. I mean, it is definitely a much more physical and much tougher sport than I think a lot of people give credit.
I think the few times I've played, I think every kid in America, though, has to at least have a general respect and admiration for FIFA. I think everybody else, you've probably played FIFA. You played FIFA, Zaleski? Everybody likes FIFA. I think I used to pick Team Italy, and I liked, because it was like the only black player that I thought looked cool was Balotelli.
Yeah, Mario
name?
Balotelli.
Does he still play or no?
He does not, but he's a legend of the game.
He was a dog. I don't know. I liked playing him. He always had a sick like mohawk and everything like that. I was like, I'm picking this dude. So I bet FIFA even does better than like Madden and 2K when you think about it, because FIFA, like, no one's buying Madden and like living in England or something like that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They're buying FIFA. That's probably worldwide getting that FIFA game. So that's insane. Dude. The only other thing I think probably competes with the physicality is hockey.
Oh yeah.
Hockey, man. That's got to be something. Unfortunately, I just watched somebody pass away in a minor league in like there was a highlight, and I think it was Europe or something. This dude, like, I don't know if it was intentional, but I think it was like unintentional manslaughter was like his case. Dude goes and like trips, but like his skate comes up high. It looks like it came up unintentional. Slit the dude's throat, bro. It was insane. Yeah, it was insane, bro. So I'd say hockey looks like it's pretty physical as well.
Well, and doing that all on ice.
All on ice, like crazy.
That's not running and cutting like it is on grass or court or on ice. I don't even think I could play hockey with no puck.
Yeah.
Like, even just the skating around, I couldn't even handle that.
Yeah, no, the skating's too much.
Add the puck, and then the fact that you're not actually interacting with the puck.
Yeah.
You're using a stick to interact with the puck. I mean, it's insane. It's crazy.
I've tried, I think I snowboarded like 2 or 3 times, and just being on snow and ice is just not a good mix for me or my kind, I don't think. I'll leave it as that, politically as correct as possible. But I think I like fractured my elbow or something stupid, dude. I grew up in PA, and I think a lot of people I think they snowboard out here and ski. You snowboard or ski?
Yeah. I snowboard,
dude, Dude, that's another thing. Just that's crazy. Did you ever watch any X Games or anything like that?
Yeah.
Dude, you think about that because you look at it like, oh, that looks easy. Then you get out there on a slope and you're like, dude, there's no way I could do like a 720 backflip right now or something crazy, stupid. You get up and just snap your knees in half. But so you get into college, you get the pro deal. What's the hardest adversity all the way up into prior to breaking your arm? What's the hardest adversity you had to go through?
I think prior to the arm break, honestly, wasn't too much. I think I was still pretty young. I had great parents, super supportive. Yeah. I never really felt like I was being held back.
Yeah.
The arm break was a big one for me. I think just mentally, I think because it was my first real setback.
Yeah.
It was like, well, like, why is the world doing this to me? Was how I felt at first. After the arm break, when I got to the higher levels of the game, you're having more injuries, you're having more things you're facing, more week-to-week stuff that really is just, you're kind of always dealing with the knock. And then I think also just dealing with the adversity that was actually trying to get my first pro contract, because I dropped out of school. I was already operating my business at this point. I felt financially comfortable, but nonetheless, I dropped out of school to pursue a professional soccer career.
Yep.
And I knew if it didn't work out, so be it. I've got my business. It'll support me. I could go back to school, whatever. But the goal, what I told everybody, my friends, my family, myself, was I'm leaving school to go pro.
Yeah.
And I left school. I showed up day one of trial for the pro team I was looking at, and there was no contract on the table. It was like, you have a chance to earn one. And I went and I trialed for 3 weeks, and then they cut me. And they said, sorry, we don't want you. And the next morning, I showed up still, and I went back out on the field the next day, and I said, you could cut me, you don't have to sign me, but I'm not leaving. I don't have anywhere else to go. So I'm going to stay, and I'm going to keep training until you tell me that I have to leave.
Yeah.
And I showed up, and I trained for another week, and they said, you don't have to leave yet. You can keep training if you want. And I stayed another week. You don't have to leave yet. And after my 6th week, they offered me a contract, and I signed and got to play professionally because they told me no 3 weeks in, and I said, I'm just not going to accept that.
That's sales. That's sales 101.
Yeah.
That's sales 101, bro. The top guys in our offices, myself, I can remember not taking no for an answer. I think that's just life success. That's awesome to hear that, man. Seriously. Your business. You've highlighted your business a few times. I think, we talked prior to this. You comfortable with talking about your business?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is your business? What do you do? When did you start it?
Yeah, so I like to say I'm a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur. Okay. I've kind of dabbled in a lot of different businesses. I've touched a lot of different things on the quest for my right thing. I don't know that I've found it at this point, but I've been blessed enough to be really successful in some endeavors along the way. When I was leaving school at that time was kind of the boom of crypto and NFTs, right? So we're looking back like Web3, if you want to call it that, a couple years ago now. And I really was just well positioned. I actually, from like 16 years old, I got my first job and I was delivering food, and I would take the money that I made delivering food, and I was buying Bitcoin with it when I was 16 years old.
We had a kid do that started working with us a couple years ago, or not even like a year ago, and he was doing that when he was a high schooler, and like started here with like $100,000 because he was buying Bitcoin and like boomed. Yep. He's right around your age, and like maybe like similar situation in regard to buying into Bitcoin, and like just turned in a couple bands into like 100 bands.
And I was able to do really well buying Bitcoin and Ethereum really young. And then I was like, there's more to this than just an investment vehicle. I really was interested in the technology. And so I took a lot of time over a few years when it wasn't so popular to really learn the technology really well.
Yeah.
And then when everyone wanted a piece, when NFTs were booming and crypto was booming and like every normal person off the street was like, hey, I can make a lot of money there. When they came into the space, they needed someone that could give them guidance that actually knew the industry.
Yeah.
They knew how the tech worked. They knew how the industry worked. They knew how to word things, how to build things like that. And that was where I kind of started my first business.
Yeah.
And I was working as a consultant for a lot of these Web3 startups and was basically just taking revenue shares on projects that we were dropping. I think the biggest project I was ever a part of, we did, not me personally, but the project I think sold out and I was in a consultant role, 10 million in
an NFT.
Yeah, an NFT project. I think we did 10 million gross in like 36 hours.
And you hit it at the right time because that was like a bubble.
It was a bubble. Yeah, absolutely.
It popped in and kind of popped out because I heard Logan Paul held on to one a little longer than he should have.
Yeah.
And lost a couple bucks.
Oh yeah.
But it was still a lot of money circulated through digital art, which was insane because I'm sitting here thinking like, should I just like go on Photoshop right now and like put I don't
it's
know.
Crazy. I mean, I don't know. We'd need a 10-hour podcast to get deep enough into it.
I have some guys that I get on the podcast once a year. They're in like the tech space and VC, which is massive in Chicago. You know, and I always pick their brain and get them on here, but like refresh the audience on they might have a general idea on Bitcoin and NFTs, but Web3.
Yeah. So Web3, to put it as simply as possible, Web3 is deemed the third iteration of the internet, right? So your first iteration of the internet is Google. Yep. It's input in and then output out. It's nearest car dealership.
Yes.
And then you get that. That was Web 1.0.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Web 2.0 is kind of where we've been the last 3, 4, 5 years. It's the iteration where the way that I like to describe it is logging in, right? You've got social media now. You've got platforms where you're logging in, you're storing personal information. We've got digital commerce. We've got all these things where the internet is now a vessel for so much more than just like searching, right? It's for collaborating and communicating and all this.
Yes.
That's Web 2.0. That's where I would say we comfortably are right now.
Yeah.
Now Web 3.0 is the complete integration of finance into this world. So now Web 3.0 is when everything gets tokenized. Physical assets are tokenized. Money is tokenized. Things come out of the real world and onto what we call the blockchain.
Yeah.
Blockchain, Web 3.0, the basis of it is essentially we're creating not just a financial system, but we're creating an information system that doesn't rely on a single point of failure. Mm-hmm. It doesn't rely on a central bank. It doesn't rely on a CEO. It doesn't
there's
rely
no backing. That's what scares people.
It's the thing is, it's scary that there's no backing, but also myself, right? I'm a believer that the government and other people don't always have my best interest in mind, right?
Yeah.
So
what happens if they get a hold of the computers and say, your bank's done?
Exactly, right? And now Bitcoin says you can't do that.
Yeah.
There's no Bitcoin vault. There's no off switch. Bitcoin is you have one Bitcoin, I have this product, you want it, you give me your Bitcoin, I give you the product, that's it. It's done. We don't need the government to sanction that money. We don't need people or entities or institutions to back it and say, we say this, because what happens is when you rely on a government or institution backed currency,
absolute
the government
power corrupts.
Exactly. Because what are we seeing now? We're about to see, in my opinion, hyperinflation.
Absolutely.
We're just seeing the government turn money that we work so hard for into paper, worthless paper.
Yeah.
And it's because there's no control on the supply. There's no control on who gets it. There's no control on anything other than you better pay your fucking taxes. That's the only thing they care about.
It's crazy when you study these individuals that get elected into office, especially the lower level positions where there's no set terms and they can be in office for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And they'll go in, like I just saw this AOC, I think is the individual's name. I don't know, but this individual was hired And let's just for I don't want to get too political on anybody, but for a better example, let's just say Mary gets hired, was a bartender. Now there's some type of political tie where there's no credentials of this person even being in office, or Joe being in office, and not reference to Joe Biden, but just Joe. And they're a bartender, and their net worth is negative $300, but they have family now. Like, hey, we think you'd be good at, running the electoral college or whatever. And now your new salary is $150,000. 3 years go by, you reevaluate their net worth, it's like $14 million. And I'm talking about like real data that I've seen over the last 2 or 3 years. And that's for both sides. I'm not saying Democrats, I'm just saying government in general. You're talking about, where it's like, was it pigs get slaughtered or hogs get slaughtered?
Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I've made it kind of my goal to kind of every year I like to do something new. The last two years I spent reading the dictionary thesaurus just to hone in on my vocabulary, because I was thinking to myself, when you meet individuals in other countries, what do they always know? 2 or 3 languages.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, and I saw a stat maybe 2 years ago where it's like the average reading level is an 8th grade reading level in America, and I'm like, how are we half as good at our own language when there's other countries that know 2 or 3 languages?
Yeah.
So right now I'm studying the 50 presidents. That's my new goal for like next 6 months, is just do a deep dive on the 50 presidents, because I think history repeats itself, and I'm curious. We're going into probably the most impactful election year of all of our lives, entrepreneurially, economically, and I think I'm not worried. I think we're about to get 100 times richer, but I want to be as prepared as possible, and I want to help others as well. And the idea of this central banking started with some of the founding fathers, and it was they completely opposed the idea of it, because the party, I think it was the Whigs that tried to even come up with it, and it was essentially like Federalist, and they liked the idea of central power.
Yes.
And anytime you have this central power, it's always a great idea, and it starts off as a seed of like decent idea, and then it grows into this wicked power, exactly like you have explained. And this is probably the best explanation that I've heard, and I've had this conversation now for 3 or 4 years. I'm like, I don't understand a cryptocurrency, because I feel like it's giving the government even more power to shut our money off. But the fact that if there is a way truly that it can't be turned off, and at the end of the day, like, who's to say who even creates the value of gold? Which maybe TikTok will go crazy by me saying that. But at the end of the day, are we not humans consciously saying we deem this gold at $100 per ounce? You know what I mean? Like, are we not the ones that are?
We're not buying it to use it.
Yeah, who's doing what with gold? And so that's where it's like, because I heard Warren Buffett is like, well, the reason I don't buy into cryptocurrency is like, I believe in businesses or a product or a service generating funds, and I don't see any backing or actual legitimate process to generate these funds. But this has been a really good explanation in regard to the Web3 and money markets online, and I see some of the guys using Bitcoins in the office, and you can fractionalize it down to a
Satoshi is what it's called, and it's like it is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a I mean, you can get down to pennies, man. You can buy your coffee with Bitcoin. People feel like, oh, this is a $50,000, $44,000 asset. No, it's not. What Bitcoin is Bitcoin is a finite, scarce, digital source of wealth.
Yeah.
And all that is something that people have created by people for people, right? The difference is people feel like, well, if the government doesn't support it, they can stop it. You can't stop Bitcoin. It's code. It's already out there. It already exists. There's no stopping it. And I think that is where people get misguided. They think that this is some easily mutable thing. Like the government will get tired of it and they'll just click the off switch and it'll be done.
What if we get hit with an EMP?
I have a great follow-up question for you. If we get hit with an EMP, do you think you're getting money out of your bank? No.
I'm using my gold Lambo bottle.
Right? Exactly. We're going to turn to real physical things. And you know what?
Physical assets.
I can also tell you that Bitcoin can work with an EMP. We don't need Wi-Fi. You don't need things like that for Bitcoin to operate. And I think a good example I give people is they're always like, oh, well, it's all digital. It's all digital. How much money do we actually have physically? I never have more than $100 on me,
no
right?
one has cash.
No one. Even my checkings, my savings, all those accounts, yes, it's real money, but is it? No, it's not. It's still digital numbers that we populate on a screen and we just choose to believe that they're
Banks are
there.
disgusting.
But if you showed up at your bank right now and you said, I have $500,000 in my savings account, give me $100,000 of it.
They ain't giving you nothing.
No, they're turning you away.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you 100. I mean, it's your money. It's real money. Why can't you have it when you want it? Because again, the realness of the US dollar, I would say, is less than the realness of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
People just think because the government backs it, it's legitimate. There's a lot of things that the government backs that are not legitimate.
Just 100 years ago, $20 would be equivalent to $586, I was reading this morning.
I believe that 100%.
It's insane.
It is. So not only is your government, not only is your money that's government backed not actually any more real or tangible than digital money, but it's also having its value, just the life sucked out of it every year. We've now gotten rid of the debt ceiling. There's no debt ceiling.
Yeah.
We can print unlimited money.
Yeah.
I mean, the Fed has actually gone on record saying we can print unlimited money out of thin air.
Yes.
If that is not a cause for concern, I don't know what is, because anything that can be fabricated unlimitedly and out of thin air has no value.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
Yes.
And especially how they're creating the illusions that they're creating right now. Because I was sharing inflation rates and everything like that with this the morning with this team, and man, you know what I mean? Like we do not have a current inflation rate of 3.1%.
No way.
I mean? And if you Google and do research, that's what they're putting out there and having people believe. But when you look at just the cost of natural goods and just overall life right now, I mean, I believe over the last 5 or 10 years, even 5, I would say, things have gotten close to double from your typical expenses have just doubled. And just the power of your dollar, you know what I mean? That has doubled in the opposite way as well. So it's insane, absolutely insane.
I mean, for me, what I've done is I have invested into that, and then the other businesses that I've operated are real life service-based businesses. For example, I own a cleaning company in Madison right now.
Yeah.
It's a real service. It's inflation-proof. It's recession-proof. People have spaces. They need them cleaned.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a real tangible thing.
Yep.
And there's no fad. There's no real variance in demand. If anything, the variance in demand is with the seasons.
Yeah.
But I mean, our cleaning company, my fiance and I, we're gonna do 10K this month.
Yeah.
And we don't clean houses. We don't do anything. We just connect cleaners with people that need their homes cleaned.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then we just keep a fee in the middle, and we're selling a real valuable service to people that are actually looking for that service. And we're also stimulating the gig economy. We're creating jobs. We're creating income for people. We're paying our workers well, right? Like, those were the two business models that always interested me. Can we create real value, or can we do something disruptive and something new? If it's something in the middle, it's not really something that I'm super interested in. I never got really excited by e-commerce and drop shipping and stuff like that, right? Like taking a shit product and convincing someone that they need it and marking it up 500%.
Yeah, makes zero sense.
You can make money for sure.
The people that make money in that those are course lords. You know what I mean? The course lords.
Yes.
And they're all over the place. And they kind of dilute the market in regard to, my recruiting strategies and building an insurance company and a sales company where it's a valuable product. You're not going to escape death. You're not going to escape taxes. 90% of the world is always going to be impoverished to an extent. What I mean by impoverished is they're going to be middle class or less. And so there's no way in hell that any of them are going to have income protected or final expense protected. They'll always need a life insurance product. Never have I ever pitched life insurance as a massive investment where you see like a bunch of TikTokers talking about, that's all BS in my opinion. Because if it was I tell these guys all the time, if it was such a great product, why wouldn't we as the sales reps just sell ourselves the product a couple times, get rich off that, and stop selling the product? You know what I mean? It's like, it's a great product, but it's not a product that you're just like, man, I just love selling insurance. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. It was for free. We're doing it to make money. Yeah. Right? And in the midst of us exchanging value, we're receiving value. Right? So that's what I like about that. But when you're recruiting into sales, you'll always get you're selling a course. Like, no, wish I was, man. I'd make more money, I guess. But not selling a course. Oh, this must be a scam. This must be this. This must be MLM. It's like, it's life insurance. Absolutely not a scam. Been around for hundreds of years. Not like Forex, not like drop shipping. And no offense to anybody that's legitimately doing any of those things and making money through those things, but this is something where you acquire a license and you're building up a book of business by setting up individual policies or B2B policies, whatever it might be. And